So we're here to solve this LITS puzzle by John Bulten. One of the things you'll see right at the start is we have some snake-shaped regions that are 6 or 7 or even 5 cells in size. They'll always have to take these middle cells, so these middle 3 out of this region of 5, these middle 3, middle 2 of 6, another middle 2 of 6, even this middle 1 of 7. These examples are cells we have to shade, and as we mark some of those in, we're going to be forming some potential 2 by 2 squares we've got to dodge. So on the bottom, for instance, we get this L and this I placed for sure. Over here on the upper left, we actually have some cells we can't reach like these, which help put more of this shading into the grid. For instance, it eliminates these cells, puts these in, and also says that this region shape will always be an L, which means we've got to put an S here. That means now this coming down is an L or an I. In this upper left space, you can sometimes look ahead, and so I'll just use a different color so you can just sort of understand the look ahead. If I start by shading this cell, I always put an L in the grid, but I see I'm canceling this cell and putting another L down below it. So one kind of look ahead is eliminating this cell. A different kind of look ahead now after we mark some shaded cells. That I take this cell, I can't take this cell, so I take this cell, and again I make an I and another I. And so with some of the look ahead you can do in this kind of a grid, just seeing how cancellations will propagate, we can get that we have a bottom L here. For connection's sake, this top region has to come over here, form this I. That actually means this top region here has to come in and take these cells, and we'll have to shade through this region to get connected. There's no other connection for it. So you can actually see that we've got to come up here, form this L, that forms this S. This region actually doesn't have any space to take cells on the left side, so it's got to come down here for connection's sake. There's something we didn't do yet, but is interesting about some of these regions. For instance, this region that just always zigzaggy is always going to have an S tetromino, and it's next to another region that's always zigzaggy, which will always take an S tetromino. And so here's a case where we know for sure this border is never going to be able to have adjacent cells shaded. And so at this stage of the puzzle where I've got some of this S put in, I can always see a cell like this can't be shaded, which puts these in. Where I also have the fact I can't take both of these cells, we now have a forced S, and we also have that this cell can't be taken so that these S's dodge. And so we get this in the puzzle, we get this L coming up. We have to shade some cells in this region. We've got 6 total left, so the middle 2 get shaded. If we took this cell, we would form an L next to this L, so we can't take that cell, but we can take this one. Now we've got some options here, and with this region that's got 5 cells left, I can only take one on the bottom, so I always take this one at the top. I can now form an S or a T, but there's an S touching it, so I form this T, and that puts this S in the grid. You'll actually see if you look across that there's connectivity challenges unless this region in the lower left groups this cell with that cell, so these have to both be shaded for connection, and this can't be the S, so this has to be a T. And we finished this puzzle. So hopefully got a sense of how to track these LITS. At least this case where we had these regions that were like S next to S was one of the sneakier pieces for this two-state puzzle. Hopefully the way the snake shapes interact will set you up for later in this week. And we'll see you again soon.